John 8:31 says, to the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, if you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciple. If you hold to my teachings, if you hold to my teaching, if you let your yes be yes and your no be no, if you hold to my teachings, if you hold to what I say, then you are my disciples. Then it says you will know the what? And the will set you free. Oh my God. Then you will, if you hold to my teachings, then you're my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and that truth that you know set you free. Somebody say, oh, I need some freedom. I need some freedom from some things. Oh, I need some freedom. I need some deliverance. I need to be set free. The truth I know will set me free when I'm a disciple. I can't even know the truth if I'm not a disciple. And sometimes I'm thinking we're getting in a place where we don't even know the truth, which means we're not disciples. We've gotten so far from it that we can't even see where we're falling short. But our children see it. And we're confusing them. When the Bible speaks of truth, it describes that which corresponds to reality. What is factual, what is absolute. So when we say one thing and do another, we're a liar, we're a thief, we're a hypocrite. God is not our Father. You can't practice that, y'all, and call yourself a disciple. In Philippians 4:8, we're told, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. He starts by saying whatever is true. When Jesus appeared before Pilate, the subject of truth was discussed. In John 18:37, Pilate therefore said to Jesus, are you a king then? And Jesus answered, you say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Jesus said here, yeah, what you're saying is right. And I have come into the world to bear witness to what the truth is. And he says, everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. And then Pilate raised a wonderful question. I think it's our question for the day. John 18:38, he says, what is truth? What is truth? He goes away and says, I find no fault in him. What is truth? And today, many people like Pilate are saying, what is the truth? People are turning away from the church instead of turning to the church because they can't see truth anymore because they're looking at us and we don't reflect truth. How do we expect people who don't know God to come to know God when they look at us and in us they see a liar and a thief? They see somebody who says one thing and does another. They see people who don't pay their bills, who run from the law like they do. What are your actions revealing about who you are? Because you know, it's not about what you say. Look at somebody and say, it's not about what you say. The Bible says that. It's about what you do that tells who you are. By their what fruit ye shall know them. That's what the word says. Not by what they say, not by how eloquent their speech is, not by how good they pray or how often you see them in church, but by their fruit ye shall know them. What is your fruit reflecting this morning? There are a group of people out there nowadays that believe what is true depends on the views of a person or a culture. In other words, what they're saying is, for a statement to be true simply means that a person or a culture has to believe it. So if they say this is true, then this is true if they believe that. And if they say that is true, then that is true if they believe that. If they say Jesus is Lord, if they believe it, Jesus is Lord. Or Allah is Lord, Allah is Lord. If you are Lord, then you are Lord. If I'm Lord, then I'm Lord. If they are Lord and she's Lord and he's Lord, everybody's Lord. Not realizing that the definition of Lord itself precludes the possibility that everybody could be Lord. Everybody can't be Lord. Everybody can't be Lord. But if there are no absolutes, then there is no right or wrong. And I can kill you just like this guy did and when he murdered 20 young children the other day. I can go in and kill you, and if that's my truth, then that's okay. Because that's what I believe. So that's my truth. I have a right to believe what I want to believe, and we're helping people with that mentality by not being what we've been called to be. So if I want to kill you, that's okay. And if I want to steal from you, that's okay. And if I want to lie, and if I want to do you wrong, that's okay. Because that is my personal truth. Y'all, we need truth. And Jesus has told us in his word that he is the way, he is the truth, and he is the life. And he also says in 3 John 1:11, dear friend, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. Anyone who does what is good is from God, and anyone who does what is evil has not seen God. We should be imitators of the truth. I want to read you a story that's found in 1 Kings, the 17th chapter. And it's a pretty long story, but it's powerful. I think it does a great job with the subject that we're talking about today, truth. And I want you to just read along with me. You don't have to read it out loud. I'll read it, but I want you to listen and pay attention as we go through this story about Elijah. Beginning 1 Kings 17th chapter, beginning with the first verse. Now Elijah, the Tishbite from Tishbe in Gilead, said to Ahab, as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years, except at my word. Then the word of the Lord, after he told him to prophesy, that another word came to Elijah and says, leave here, leave here and turn eastward and hide in the Kerith ravine, east of the Jordan. Now, the thing I love about God is that because Elijah was obedient to tell the truth as God had said it to him, then God directed his steps. He told him, he said, you need to leave here. You need to get out of Dodge. You need to get out of town, okay? And that's how God does. He says, leave here and turn eastward and hide in the Kerith ravine, east of the Jordan. You will drink from the brook, and I have directed the ravens to supply you with food there. What God is saying right there is when you're obedient, when you tell the truth, when you reflect me, and when you do what I've called you to do, I'm going to meet your needs. I'm going to tell you where to go. I started off by saying earlier that I didn't know where my daughter was, and I didn't know what was going on, but God knows, and he'll lead you. The steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. So he's ordering Elijah's steps here in the 5th verse. So Elijah did what the Lord had told him. That's another thing. We've got to be obedient. We've got to be obedient. God will lead you, but you got to be listening to his voice. You've got to know his voice. And when you know his voice and listen to his voice and are obedient to do what he says do, he's going to make your way straight. So he did. Elijah did what the Lord told him. He went to the Kerith ravine east of the Jordan, and he stayed there. And you know what? The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening. And he drank from the brook. Did God tell him he was going to do it? And did God do it? So God was speaking in truth. God did what he said he'd do. In the 7th verse, sometime later, the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. Now, the brook dried up, but guess what? God is not a man that he should lie. God speaks in truth. So when the brook dries up, guess what? God has another plan. In our own life, when the brook dries up, God has another plan. In the 8th verse, then the word of the Lord came to him. Go at once. So when it dried up, then another word came. You know, a lot of times God doesn't tell us a long way ahead of time. He might not tell you years ahead of time how he's going to work this thing out. But you know, God has a plan. It says it dried up, and then the word of the Lord came to him. Go at once, which means don't waste your time. Don't fool around. Don't spend your time trying to figure out what you're going to carry and take and all that and spend money. You go now. That's very, very important, because sometimes when God tells us to move now, we want to take our time and we want to try to figure it out. And God, is it you, Lord? But he said, do what? Go at once, which means that this is an emergency. Go at once to Zarephath in the region of Sidon and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food. Now, you know, the widow didn't know she was being directed. Isn't that funny how God can have people all around you that's already been assigned by God to meet your needs, and you don't even know it, and they don't know it. They don't even know it.